What's up, y'all? So, I got a lot of things that were on my mind today as I watched some more of the Candace episode because a lot of the Candace defenders said, you didn't even watch the whole episode. Well, first of all, I've been watching multiple full episodes for the last month and a half. I did not see the full time travel episode. And, it's funny because I did go watch it with Jim Bob today. And we're going to play a lot of it. And it was even crazier than I thought. So it's actually worse for you idiots that I actually went and watched it because it's dumber than just the clip about the Sumerian time travel technology. And none of the supporters want to come debate. Multiple of them cussed me out today, literally. At least 5 of them cussed me out, but they won't come debate. And all they have is that you work for Israel. So this to me screams that it's crazier. It's more of an op than I even thought. And I don't use that terminology flippantly because a lot of times that's hard to prove, but this is just getting crazier and crazier and crazier. So we're going to be looking at her claims specifically. And I'm going to take you through some of the classic examples of disinformation that we've seen over the years. And you're going to notice a lot of the same patterns and trends for this kind of stuff. I have multiple David Icke books, for example, next to me. So we're going to look at some of the disinformation that you get in people like David Icke promoting Gnostic gibberish, foisting that on everybody as if it's somehow the key to everything in the conspiracy world. It's a mix of Buddhism, Gnosticism, Platonism. It's all sort of comes full circle with Ikeanism. And we're going to talk about Tom DeLonge, believe it or not, because the more I thought about it, I remembered more and more just nonsense and what gets promoted as the sort of latest person to follow. So we're going to look at that. I've tried to, I think the worst part about being in this sphere is that when you try to reach out and help people or turn them in the right way, and so many of them are just absolutely nasty to you in response, even when you treat them very well, right? And so we have a consistent pattern of this. For example,
be the villain. Epstein's my boy, dude. Let's just be honest. Epstein was cool as fuck. There, I said it. What are you gonna do? Go ahead, cancel me. Yeah, I said it. Jeffrey Epstein was cool as fuck. Now what? Go ahead, cancel me. Do it. So sometimes we have to be the villain. Sometimes we have to be on a villain arc. That's okay. I'll be a little unpopular. I've been unpopular before.
Now, I'm sure that everybody will say, oh, he's saying that because people call him a villain. And so he's being satirical and he's saying Jeffrey's a villain. I mean, okay. Yeah, I mean, whatever. Okay. If you think that's what it is, go for it. But I've in the last year, I've had thousands and thousands of these bots and people come after me, harass me. And what I've done is simply try to put out information that would turn people in the right direction on these topics. And every one of these people goes in the wrong direction. They become Roman Catholics. They double down, triple down, quadruple down on the Roman Catholicism. You continually try to warn these people. And, you get called every name in the book, harassed, attacked, and for what? Like, what did I do to any of these people other than try to point out correct information? Now, as with the case of Candace, I don't know Candace. I've never talked to her, but I have made many, many streams. She has talked about a lot of the material that we've talked about. She referenced me on her show without naming me because I was in the documentary that Tim Gordon made. And no, I'm not salty because she didn't mention my name. I don't really care. If I was her, I wouldn't mention it either. If I was a Roman Catholic and I was committed to Catholicism. So, and the other thing too, is like when you talk about this stuff and you try to put out good information, it's very frustrating because the people in these groups, they take any criticism as attack, right? They take any criticism as, that you hate the person. And the cult followers pile on, even if you're trying to be helpful. Now, in the case of Nick, I reached out in DMs many times. The only reason I offered a debate was because many people were saying you should debate Nick again. And I said, I'd be happy to do that again. I didn't say I was going to debate him again. So that was taken out of context. It's not true that I wasn't demonetized and canceled. He said that I wasn't. That's not true. I was. So what happens is a lot of these people will do anything, I think, for the media positions. And they get in an insulated position where they think that anybody who might criticize them is suddenly their enemy. And part of the reason for that is because in this domain of media and entertainment, internet, whatever, there's a lot of people who backstab people. But I think, if you look at, for example, I've hosted the Alex Jones show for 6 years. Alex has never censored me. I've never backstabbed Alex. I tend to be a pretty loyal person. Even if I disagree with you, I will disagree with you openly, right? I mean, Tim Gordon is a friend and I've disagreed with him openly. And I don't shy away from pointing out disagreements. But when it comes to other people, I think they just assume that anybody who would try to correct me or try to put me on a different path or whatever, oh, they're just out for their own motives and they're just being nefarious. And the sad part is that you can see people's trajectories and it's going in the wrong direction and they don't listen. They won't listen to you. It reminds me of I had a buddy who was an alcoholic. And I would try for years everything I could to get him to not drink. And then I finally realized that, he's ultimately going to have to come to that realization himself, right? I can't fix him. I can't make him change his course. How has Alex Jones gone off the rails? I don't even know what you're talking about. Again, so first of all, let's get some fallacies out of the way. The topic is not Alex Jones. Alex Jones has nothing to do with what, yeah, we got somebody in the chat who knows what I'm talking about. The point of the conversation is not, does Alex Jones have points I disagree with? I've talked on Alex's show openly about positions that I know Alex doesn't agree with. I critique libertarianism openly. I critique evangelical dispensationalist type theology, which Alex tends to have. Not so much, he's not a Zionist, but I critique the evangelical positions. I critique classical liberalism and libertarianism, which Alex affirms. I critique the American view of the Enlightenment. Alex has never told me to not talk about that, never told me that I can't discuss those disagreement topics on his show. And I've done probably 10 episodes of the 4th hour on that topic. So I would actually argue, no, over the years, Alex has become more and more level-headed and not more unhinged. So I have no idea what you're talking about, that Alex is off the rails. That's totally not true. And what I'm talking about today really has nothing to do with Alex. Now, there is a black dude over here, Coach Colin. Yo, this Coach Colin, man. This diet dude, he just want to debate. Look at this dude. He said, let's debate. Well, why can none of the Candace people come and rationally present their position? Okay, we got wine moms again over here. My husband says, F you, Jay. That's an argumentum ad hominem. And my response is, go back to the box, baby. I put you back in the box, mama. Wine mama. Candace's audience is wine mamas and like dumb potheads. The other people defending it are like dumb potheads. Like this guy, Dr. Hollywood Hogan. You talk about the same crazy shit that she does. No, I don't. Please tell me what the crazy shit that I talk about is. That's what she talks about. I do not talk about ancient alien tech. I don't talk about aliens. I have debunked aliens for 12 years straight. My first podcast on YouTube that I uploaded was an interview with the Collins brothers. You can go listen to it 10 years ago, 11 years ago, debunking aliens as disinformation. The first time I went and spoke at a conspiracy conference, I called alien nonsense disinformation. Go watch the lecture. It's still up on YouTube. And another guy says, fuck you, dude. Fuck you, man. So does nobody care about what's true anymore? Like, is it just about screaming at people now? It's just about cussing people out. Like, it's not at all about what's the most logical, rational, likely position when it comes to Charlie Kirk, Egyptian planes, Mitch Snow, quantum time consciousness. I mean, dude, come on. No. So let's hear a little bit of this and then we'll go to the calls.
Guys, happy Wednesday. I'd like everyone in the chat right now saying, yup, it had a cornucopia. I knew you guys were my people. I want to start by saying that the way that I feel, the way that I think a lot of you feel,
the way that she feels, this is another common refrain. Her feelings have nothing to do with what's true. And this is a big red flag here because she's appealing to her wine mom, soccer mom audience who goes by how they feel. The sad part about all this, by the way, before I meant to mention these other books, is like, if you really want to know what's going on, unfortunately, it takes a lot of time to read. And most people are lazy. Most people don't read. And that's why you guys don't get anywhere, is because you don't read. You spend your time on YouTube, you spend your time on TikTok, which is the lowest IQ tier of the conspiracy gibberish. Just total nonsense all the time. And you don't actually go and read the materials. You don't read books like One Nation Under Blackmail, which is actually a really well done journalistic expose on this type of material. Is it perfect? No. Do I agree with Whitney Webb on everything? No, but that's a grounded, sourced book. Okay. There's a book called Old Boys that we're reading right now on my reading list, my Oprah's reading list. Okay. This is a very long, historical, technical book written by a guy from the Council on Foreign Relations. This tells us what they believe about their history, just like Tragedy and Hope. But you guys are not going to read these books. And that's why you get duped. You don't do the homework. But I do the homework. And if you're envious and you talk shit at me because I actually go and do the work, that's actually a problem with you, not with me. It's not my fault that you didn't do the work. It's not my fault that you fell for these people's nonsense. And then you double down because of your pride and your arrogance. That's a problem with you. Books like Milner Fabian Conspiracy, super sourced, very historical, covers all the bases, British intelligence, all of it. Another good source. But those are 500, 600-page books. You guys are not going to read those books. You're going to go listen to Lil Oprah because you feel a connection with her. And that's why you're duped.
The vibes that are surrounding us right now,
Yeah, let's
is
just
that the
go
deep
by the
state
vibes that we feel, just like Mary assured her on the Immaculate Conception Day that her stories were true.
some sort of a panic, right? We've acknowledged that over and over again on the show. Something doesn't feel quite right. It feels almost like we are at the beginning of the end of a long satanic run. That's why, just so you guys know, despite the obviously sobering reality that the world is run by these people, I'm pretty optimistic every day. I can't explain it. I don't know why. Things are obviously coming apart, but like things have to come apart before they can be put back together. And they're just getting sloppy. And if I could put it into a sentence, I would say that it's almost as if our awareness is the threat, right? Awareness, just our...
So a little side note here on things that I've noticed with media people that get very, very popular. There's a similar phenomenon between Candace, Jordan Peterson, Kanye. In all the cases of these individuals, when they get to this mega level of popularity, what often happens is that they take on a messiah complex and they've sort of booted out of their life, which is one of the worst things that they can do for themselves. They've removed from their inner circle anyone who would give them pushback. So you wonder why a lot of stars and celebrities and people go insane. It's because they get very prideful, which it would be almost impossible without, extreme divine grace to avoid being seen as this sort of salvific figure when you've got millions of people just like worshiping everything you say. So it's very difficult for people who aren't repentant and in the church, and even people in the church, it's going to be difficult to not fall into this delusion. You're going to think of yourself as God has sent me as this almost prophet-like figure. And we've seen that with all three of these characters now. For example, with Jordan Peterson, eventually at a certain point, he felt like it was his destiny. He was called to save the West, and he was going to do it through his archaeology of ideas, that he would go back into the mythology of the ancient world and piece together this possible worldview and paradigm for the future so that we could survive, right? It's a delusion. And is there anyone in those circles to give pushback? Well, the problem is that you've surrounded yourself with media people who don't want to give you any pushback because they don't want to jeopardize a media relationship. So they don't give you critiques, they don't give you pushback. And you're so full of yourself that you don't want that. You feel like, because you do get a lot of attacks, you immediately feel like anyone who's criticizing you or giving you a little bit of pushback is attacking you and double, stabbing you in the back and, whatever. So that's why it's a catch-22. It's a double-edged sword to get in these positions where you don't have rational, sane people giving you pushback and you just sort of huff your own toots all day long, so to speak. Same thing with Kanye. Kanye felt like at a certain point he was Jesus. He was going to do his own Bible, right? And then when he converts, he's now going to be the preacher of Jesus. Jesus is number one homie, right? And then all of that falls apart. because of the delusion of being so arrogant and so prideful and so full of prelust that you can't be corrected. That's the problem. So, as Jim Bob said on his stream today, you actually become your own worst enemy. So there's a curse to this whereby the more that you begin to believe that you're the anointed prophet to save Western civilization, to save the world, you're Jesus' number one homie. You and Charlie Kirk are twin flames that are going to save the time continuum. And, Doc Brown is going to get you back together through building a flux capacitor, all this bullshit, dude. It's so obvious to, I think, people who've noticed this pattern in this track, setting aside the information. This is a separate topic from, is every point that she's saying false? No, we're not saying that. Is every point that she's saying true? No. And what I'm saying can apply to everyone. It's not just those three people. It could apply to Alex Jones too. Alex can be wrong about his view of when he gets on Joe Rogan and he says stuff where he speculates about quantum stuff or whatever. I don't agree with all that. But the other thing is that that black dude that was trying to call me out, that I don't think he won't ever come debate. He said, "Oh, why ain't you going to debate Alex Jones? Because he said the same thing." He didn't say the same thing. He said that AI can have predictive algorithmic technology that gives you a percentile prediction of what is likely to happen in the future. Okay, that's real. That's not the same thing as stolen Sumerian ancient technology that's a portal into the future. That's not real. Okay, that's the difference. But that's a big difference. One of them's real, the other one's not. So even the analogy to Alex doesn't even work because it's not even the same. But, when Alex starts talking about theology, I disagree with him. And Alex has never told me, "I don't want you to talk about that on the podcast." I've always been able to talk about on the fourth hour whatever I want to talk about and pretty much have any guest I want on. So, and none of that has anything to do with whether Miss Snow was reliable or whether the Foreign Legion was coming to kill her or whether, this episode is even crazier than I even could have imagined. So I'm actually glad that the Candace cult people were saying, "Oh, you need to go watch this because you didn't actually watch it." Because she was just speaking rhetorically. No, she's not. It's even worse than what you said, you idiot liars. It's 10 times worse than that. And we're gonna see it today.
Conscious of what they are doing somehow spells their doom, which is bringing me to wanting to discuss today, as I promised you, the CIA's Looking Glass Project. Now, we briefly touched upon this at the end of last episode. Obviously, I'm a conspiracy girly, and I'm thrilled that we get to dive a little bit deeper on this topic for those of you that don't know. The first thing that I want to remind you guys is exactly what I said at the top of the show. It is an absolute fact that Charlie Kirk thought that he was a time traveler. He told me he was a time traveler repeatedly. I showed you guys that text message exchange. I said to him in response that I didn't feel the same way and that I thought...
At this point, though, I don't know that I even believe or can trust her supposed text messages, or that she's even able to competently interpret a text message, because what you get in the conspiracy gematria level community or like the Jordan Maxwell level community, people don't understand basic ideas in literature. They don't understand hyperbole. They don't understand word concept fallacies. They don't understand that words can have different meanings. So, for example, think of the classic Jordan Maxwell, television. The television is tell-lie vision. It's lying to you. Okay, the origin of the word television has nothing to do with the word lie. Literally, nothing. So that's like TikTok level, BIPOC, my people's level conspiracy stuff. Atlanta is because that's the name Atlanta. I'm being serious. There's videos of people in Atlanta talking about how Atlanta is Atlantis because it's the name Atlanta. I've given you guys the analogy many times. I had a person come up to me at one of our live events who had some issues, not trying to be mean, but he said he'd figured it all out because in the Garden of Eden, they ate an apple, and Apple technology uses an apple as its symbol. Therefore, Apple, the company, was in the Garden of Eden, and we are now in a simulation. That was his conclusion. Okay, I'm sorry, but that's schizo level nonsense. That is a non sequitur based on words being confused. And what schizophrenic people do, as we talked about in the last show, is that they will confuse the different meanings of words with the ontological reality. So if Apple in one context can mean the apple in the garden, and Apple computers, they'll collapse these two into the same meaning. If you don't believe me, watch a lot of interviews and documentaries on people with schizophrenia, and that's exactly what they do. They will confuse words and ontological realities. And yes, it becomes solipsism. Of course, I've heard of solipsism. I've written articles and done podcasts critiquing it for years. And solipsism is similar to this delusion where everything is a manifestation of your mind and you are the center of all reality. So these are all red flags. These are all warning flags, not because I hate these people, but because I do actually care about what's true. And all these people calling me out and calling me names all day long, cussing me out, just shows that and every one of these people has no idea what my views actually are. You say the same thing. No, I don't. Let's take an example. The gateway process is a real document. You can actually go read the PDF of the gateway process. Now, the gateway process is a document studying the possibility of different esoteric and sort of fringe medical techniques, right? It talks about transcendental meditation, right? Like David Lynch. It talks about biohacking and biofeedback. It talks about remote viewing. It talks about meditation, okay? It doesn't even know or necessarily posit that all of these things actually tap into. It's a study of those things. Much like the Stanford Research Project and Stargate, which is real, was studying remote viewing. Now, if you just watch a mainline documentary on remote viewing and Project Stargate, they admit that, yeah, we studied this and it didn't really produce enough results to continue the funding, so we stopped funding it. That's just the mainline story. I can't believe you believe it, Dyer. Well, where is the evidence then that it continued on and that there really are X-Men children, there really are 11s and, Stranger Things kids running around? There's no evidence of that. That's also part of the bullshit New Age narrative. The Indigo children, like John talked about, which, by the way, Tom DeLonge started some Starfleet Academy for the X-Men kids. This is literal Gaia level stuff. You were on Gaia. I was on Gaia because what's his face? Blow the Beans. What's his name? Because he was the video producer there and he wanted to do a show with me. Now, when you watch the episodes, do I ever say that aliens exist? Do I ever say that there's interdimensional portal technology? And I'm not joking. No, I don't ever say any of that. Because the gateway process, which is a real document, which we cover right here as we actually walk through the document, we talk about these esoteric practices and these studies and what it led to. And guess what? It didn't really produce much as far as we could tell. So the people saying, you talked about the exact same thing that Candace talked about. No, I didn't. I've never talked about Looking Glass as a time travel, time portal future technology. Total bullcrap. Just people just making up nonsense, which shows they didn't actually watch the Gateway Process podcast. Now, Project Looking Glass. Is that real? Guess what? There is a Project Looking Glass, but it has to do with tabletop exercises in terms of national defense. Here it is right here. This is the actual document of Project Looking Glass. And I know, she's talking about the other one. There is no other one. That one's bullshit. Let's take a look. It's a bunch of boring military crap, build-up crap. Absolutely nothing to do with seeing into the future, nothing to do with Babylonian Sumerian relics, nothing to do with Charlie Kirk, nothing to do with any of that. Now, what is funny is that when looking across a bunch of websites for various PDFs or the possibility, and now feel free to correct me, if there is an actual Looking Glass document, which the CIA somehow researched the possibility of peering into the future, which I'm sure in the SRI projects, they consider that possibility, but there's no evidence that any of that was successful. They did anything. If there is, show me. Where is any PDF or documentation or and I'm at like the famous, this is the Black Vault site, which is all the FOIA documents. This came out and got popular at the time of Snowden and WikiLeaks stuff. And by the way, even still, they can declassify fake documents. Did you not even think about that? So even if there is some document, remember that document, the CIA declassified the Tartaria document. There's no Tartaria document. It talks about pole shift. There's a publication that was, for whatever reason, classified for some time that had 60, 70 pages worth of articles. And there was an article that considered the possibility of pole shifts and that had some effect on the medieval world and agriculture. Okay, that doesn't mean that the CIA is hiding the coming Nibiru Planet X pole shift bullcrap. And if you don't have evidence of that, then what are you talking about? You're just spouting bullshit. Now, in the case of Candace or in the case of these other people, they buy into conspiracy theories, which then begin to dominate the entire worldview. Not saying that there's no conspiracy theories, but I'm saying that this becomes a worldview. It becomes a all-pervading grand narrative. And because you've gotten so much opposition from people and you're in this position of having 5, 10 million followers, you begin to believe I'm a special anointed person who's figured it all out. Therefore, they've got to be after me. I've got to be being tracked. And I'm not joking. Okay. Now, she could be a grifter. It could be fake. She could really believe it. I don't know the motives. I'm just going to go by as far as I can determine. And you'll notice when she gets to the part where she plays the Daily Wire Ben Shapiro video that was poking fun at her, she actually starts reading into it that the red letters are secret Mossad codes that they're going to kill her. Okay, that's where it's getting into like the Terry Davis level stuff. So let's move on to more what she says here.
Thought I was from another planet, that I was an alien my entire life. Just do not get it here. This planet is ghetto. That's how I feel. I don't understand it. The rules don't make sense. I think that's also why I like cats so much. I feel that they can relate to that. They think.
That's what, Jim Bob made a good point too, which I think we said the same thing in our last stream, is that this is beginning to move towards Gnosticism, right? She keeps referencing the Matrix and how important the Matrix is to figuring out how the world really works. And the Matrix is 100% Gnostic, right? I mean, we've talked about the Matrix from a conspiracy perspective probably for 15 years. And I think the last time we covered the Matrix with maybe the guys at PsyOps Cinema, who are Orthodox guys, we pointed out how the Matrix really has blatant neo-Gnostic themes. The idea being that this world absolutely makes no sense. This world is, ultimately kind of a prison planet, perhaps created then by an evil god. And if it's a galactic ghetto and all that, then we're really just moving in the direction of Gnosticism. And I would not be surprised if Candace doesn't actually move towards believing, again, something like Gnosticism, or Yakub is even on the table here. Humanity
is ghetto. They don't want to be around us. They don't like us. They know it's ghetto. It is ghetto here, right? Well, another bizarre fact is that back when Charlie and I were running around, we met in 2017, top of 2018. So I would say, obviously, Turning Point was an organization, but it wasn't the organization. It wasn't this behemoth of an organization that it became. No, he had.
Okay, let me stress again, because of the idiots who come in saying this incessantly. I have critiqued evangelical black ops, CIA, fake churches for 10, 15 years. We've done podcasts on this, going back to Afternoon Commute, going back to Hoaxbusters Call 10 years ago. I did anti-TPUSA, anti-New Apostolic Reformation live streams a month ago. So do not come in here saying that I'm covering up for TPUSA. Are you serious? Oh, you must believe Kash Patel. No, I don't. I'm a skeptic on all of these things. Sure.
No real degree of fame. I think that's fair. But he was required to have security on him at all times. That was orchestrated. His security, Schaefer Security, was orchestrated by Bill Montgomery. He has since passed, the late Bill Montgomery, and he was from the military. He founded Turning Point USA with Charlie. Charlie wanted to go to West Point, and then instead started Turning Point USA when he was 18 years old. Thinking about that, the security, him texting saying, I'm not allowed to go anywhere, I feel so important, I think was the exact message. That, to me, is objectively weird in retrospect. Wasn't weird at the time, it's weird now. And it makes me think that Charlie may have been marked since he was a child. We've discussed these GATE programs that they have in school. And I just think, on the basis of what he told me, that when he was really young, they wanted to drug him, but his mother said no, and he was really grateful for that. And instead, they decided that they could send him to this X-Men school. That's the best way I can describe it. I would certainly...
Okay, again, I was in the GATE program in California and San Diego in the 1980s. I know all about the GATE program firsthand. There's no X-Men program where you're taking like L in Stranger Things. This is Stranger Things stuff. Okay. Now they do groom people to be future roles, future leaders type stuff. For example, Klaus Schwab had the young World Economic Forum leaders thing. That's real. Trying to remember whose book it was. I want to say Servando Gonzalez's, intelligence analysis book. He talks about how people are spotted and recruited into the CFR, into the Rhodes Scholarship programs very early. And that could be middle school. I mean, maybe it could be younger than that. Who knows? Maybe if you come from an elite family, it could be. But for the most part, that recruiting happens in high school, and then you're recruited in college, right? Something akin to what you see in, Good Shepherd, right? Where you have Matt Damon being recruited into the early OSS by British intelligence, right? That kind of a thing, yeah. But this idea that you're chosen when you're a kid and then you're through the GATE program and then you're sent to, some Professor X's school, it's just total bullshit, dude. That's just nonsense. And they try to drug all kids. Okay, there's nothing special about, they had to drug Charlie because he was just some future quasi savior. Why are they making Charlie Kirk into this quasi savior? This is another weird thing too. Now, I don't have any disdain or dislike for Charlie Kirk. I didn't really follow him or keep up with his stuff. I think it was a tragedy that he was taken out. But I think what makes a lot more sense is that the motivations would be to take him out by the left, but there could be other nations that had motivations to take him out because of beginning to move away from, that level of support for foreign nations. That's a possibility too. But again, another sign of problem here is every week the narrative changes like an X-Files episode. Okay. I mean, 2 months ago it was the planes, and then it was the tunnels, and then before that it was the tunnels, and then the planes, the Foreign Legion, the Mossad, the narrative just keeps getting shifted so that you don't remember the bullshit from last week. And I'm so disappointed in all the people who claim to be truthers out here who can't notice that. It's just sad, really.
By the way, for you internet sleuths, I'd like to find out which school Charlie had to attend. So he was pulled out of the regular school he was attending, and he had to go to some special school for the gifted, like he was an X-Man. And I am of the opinion, it's an opinion, I'm allowed to have it, it's obviously not a fact, but I am of the opinion, based on the discussions I had with him, that he's been monitored since. That his test scores, whatever the school, every test they probably did on him, he was off the charts. And
yeah, so in other words, Charlie is L from Stranger Things, and like that guy said on Twitter, you can literally tell what fiction shows she's been watching. So if she was pregnant for the last several weeks, she was laying around watching Netflix, and then basically she was watching these shows and was like, okay, yeah, this is what's happening. Charlie is L from Stranger Things, and his powers were too great, so they had to monitor him and drug him. I mean, why not just take him out? Like, it's not like the NWO has any problem. I mean, they killed how many children in Iraq, in the war in Iraq, right? Oh, but no, Charlie was special. He was guarded by God and protected, and they couldn't take him out because they had to wait until the time-space continuum allowed it when, the Spring Hill clock tower struck 11, right? That's when they had to do it. No, I mean, this is just so preposterous.
I wanted to make sure that he was being watched. That's my theory in general on all kids that are in extraordinary and GATE type programs. Maybe we should be training our kids to get like an 85%.
Why don't you ask people that are in the GATE program, or like talk about the actual, like, what it is, right? So all this was, and I can tell you the bad part of it, I made a video on this. So when I was in San Diego in the 1980s, California was pioneering a lot of this stuff, gifted and talented education program. And it basically is a sort of a experimental way to test new education models to see if these would be better ways for children to learn. That's at least the public story of this, right? And it would single out very high IQ children. That's why I was put into this program. I tested as having a really high IQ, and they put me into this from fourth to sixth grade. And really all it was you had a separate room where you would read books instead of doing a lot of rote memorization type stuff. I remember having to take a test where you would listen for sounds, but that was part of the IQ test. That had nothing to do with like, they put things on my ears to make me listen to tones to mind control. No, it was just part of the IQ test. That's all it was. And I do believe that, yes, you could have people in the GATE program spotted and recruited into things and perhaps, abused by the government. That's all possible. But none of this immediately speaks to, or is in any way it's a non sequitur to say, oh, well, because Charlie Kirk was in the GATE program, therefore he had to have been monitored from birth because he was a threat to the time continuum by the archons, right? I mean, this is like David Icke level shit, right? This is indigo children stuff.
On the test. At most, before the government agents are going to swoop in and go, who is this genius child, you know? And a lot of weird things used to happen to Charlie. He would go on runs. I think I told you guys this, after sundown. And when he was running, streetlights would go out.
Okay, so let's see what the evidences are that stack up here, that weird events happened to Charlie, which make it possible that he was Elle from Stranger Things. Okay. When he would run, the streetlights would go. Guess what? That happens to everybody. Okay. I go on walks, I run, and streetlights go out. It doesn't mean anything. It means absolutely nothing. I don't have an extra, emanating vibe essence that shuts off the streetlights. Okay, but this is what she's rolled out as her first piece of evidence that Charlie had weird things happen to him. Okay, this is chills level stuff, guys. And I like chills. It's entertaining, but this is not journalism. This is not proof of anything. This is like entertainment level stuff. I'm starting to think Candace has been watching too many slapped ham videos or too many chills videos, because it's going full chills.
It was like he was in a burst of energy, like he was a lightning bolt or something. So to slow this down for you, there are, just in general, all of these inexplicable experiences that we have in life, and they try to make it weird for us to discuss them. Like just even being philosophical.
No, nobody thinks it's weird to discuss that, because everybody talks about weird experiences that they have. There's gigantic YouTube channels with millions of views and millions of followers every day talking about weird experiences. Gigantic TikTok followers. Nobody thinks that's weird. What's weird is to leap to conclusions that are the most outlandish or the most irrational. Now, I do think that weird things happen, right? But what a mature adult does is that you typically look for the most rational explanation first, because that's more likely.
And thinking about these things for a long time, they don't want that. Deja vu is probably chief among them. We all have experienced deja vu. We are certain something happened, that we already did that, but it didn't actually happen. You're like, but I feel like it did. Oof, I just got a bad case of deja vu. Well, guess what? There's no official expert explanation for that. Sleep paralysis, for those of us who suffer that, I had some terrifying experiences before I knew what it was.
So notice there's another thing that we see, that happens often in this domain. It goes all over the place, right? For example, Father Deacon Ananias was recently debating on Kotel's channel a mushroom bro, a shroom dude, right? A DMT bro. And it's a fascinating debate, because there's no point at which there's a single thought or idea that is followed through with any thoroughness. It's this to 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 this. All of these things that have absolutely no necessary connection. So she started with, we all have weird things happen to us. Yeah, sure. Okay. Charlie would walk and streetlights would shut off. That happens to everybody. And we have deja vu. What does that have to do with what happened to Charlie? Nothing. No connection there. And they don't want us to talk about this. Who? There's no government agents that give a shit whether you're talking about deja vu. Like what? And now she's moved on to, what was the last thing she said here?
They don't really give us a full explanation for that. Similar, also, another example of things that are inexplicable and maybe somehow related to deja vu, the story how I met my husband. I've told it many times, how I got engaged 18 days later. No one believes me. They don't want to accept it, except maybe Charlie Kirk, because he was there for it. But I already knew George. That's how I describe it. I saw his face. I know that doesn't make sense, but it happened that way.
Okay, so are you noticing a pattern that with her, there is this mystical intuition that she just goes by? And so she met George and married him within 18 days because she just knew him. There was this mystical twin flames idea that she just knew him. And the problem with this is that now millions of people, especially as she's vibing, as she said at the beginning, with all the soccer moms and the Karens, they now think that they are figuring all this out because they feel it. This is female logic, which is not logical. And I'm not being mean to the women, but this is why women are not really made for this type of stuff. Now, there are some exceptions. Some women do have very rational, very logical minds, and they're capable to do certain activities that most women aren't. But that's very rare, very rare. For example, Nina Kuprianovna, right? She is a very, very rational historian. And she's a woman, and I've never met a woman that's that sort of masculine in her rational process. And I'm just saying that just as somebody who's, she's an acquaintance, right? But that's not most women. Most women are not built that way. Okay. Women are built for being nurturing, being, fending and protecting the group, being feeling oriented for a reason. It's not actually a bad thing, right? The feminists have demonized female characteristics, which are actually beautiful, good characteristics that God made women to have. They're not bad things, but they're made for women things. Just like men's characteristics are made for men things. And so when you get men or women in this domain, which is more properly a domain that men should be involved in, it becomes a thing based on feeling and intuition and mystical vibes. And it's not that those things are totally impossible. But for example, in the Orthodox Church, as we talked about on Jake's channel yesterday, if you have mystical experiences of a dream, a vision, the first thing you do in the Orthodox Church is you doubt it and you take it to your spiritual father. And what did I say about the Roman Catholic world? The first thing you do is believe it and do a podcast on it. Taylor Marshall with his visions of Mary's milkers. That's not me, that's him. If you think that's blasphemous, well then stop following a blasphemer like Taylor Marshall, who's in delusion. Candace thinks that when she has a feeling on the Immaculate Conception feast day, that's Mary telling her that she's on the right track. Okay, this is a feminine approach to a domain that is not based on feminine feelings. This domain of geopolitics and conspiracy absolutely requires the most rigid masculine analysis and discipline. There's no other way to navigate the minefield that is geopolitics and media. It's just the truth, whether you like it or not. And that's why I've already seen at least 3 red flags so far. I feel this, the vibes tell me this, the dreams tell me this. This is absolutely perfectly in synthesis with Roman Catholic histrionic mysticism. It's Roman Catholic charismaticism. That's the delusion here.
Looked at my husband's face and I already knew him. It was like a sigh of relief. And there's other explicable events and things like Charlie telling me that he was going to die young. Anyway, today we are going to be showing you clips from a YouTube channel called Be Inspired. We're going to link it in the comments as well because they did such a fantastic job of diving into these phenomena and how they likely relate to another shady government CIA program, which came to be known as Project Looking Glass. This actually happened. These are whistleblowers that came out.
Now, this channel that she's talking about is playing the Carrie Cassidy video.
Would fail when the date switched to the year 2000. All the software used only 2 digits to record years, so 2 nils might be read as 1900, potentially disrupting banks,
Credit cards and ATMs may cease to function.
power grids, airlines,
Airplanes and trains may come to a halt.
governments and corporations spent over $300 billion updating systems. It was one of the largest coordinated tech efforts in history. People stocked food, withdrew cash, and prepared for the
Oh, I didn't even know we went full Y2K. Jim Bob skipped the Y2K part. So wait a minute. So she's tying in Y2K now. Okay, wait. Let's go back because now I got to see what the heck Y2K has to do with Charlie Kirk. This is so schizo, dude. This is so crazy, you guys. I mean, I feel so sorry for you guys believing this nonsense. Rachel, did you want to say something before we go full schizo?
Let's jump right into this clip.
Let's start with Y2K. In the final months of 1999, there was a global concern that computer systems would fail when the date switched to the year 2000. All the software used only 2 digits to record years, so 2 nils might be read as 1900, potentially disrupting banks,
Credit cards and ATMs may cease to function.
power grids, airlines,
Airplanes and trains may come to a halt.
governments and corporations spent over $300 billion.
By the way, speaking of fake conspiracies, I believed Y2K. I bought into that because I was first getting into conspiracy stuff in Y2K. I read a bunch of Tex Mars books and I was like, oh man, that everything's going to collapse and crash and the computer's not going to work and oh no. And of course nothing happened, but yeah, I fell for Y2K at the time, but I was like 18. So what do you expect?
Updating systems. It was one of the largest coordinated tech efforts in history. People stocked food, withdrew cash, and prepared for the worst. But when midnight came, almost nothing happened. The systems held.
I was
the world
20,
moved on.
excuse
Still,
me.
that global moment left an imprint. Some view it as a psychological turning point, the end of the analog age and the quiet beginning of a fully digital world. From that point on, life accelerated. Culture, communication, and consciousness shifted onto screens, fast, constant, and increasingly disconnected from physical time. Some researchers believe Y2K wasn't about a bug at all, but a kind of global psychological reset, a ritual of fear, distraction, and silence. The code may not have
It was literally just nothing. It was nothing at all.
crashed, but something else may have been triggered, our perception of time and reality. After something strange started happening online, people began noticing memories that didn't match reality. The most famous? The Berenstain Bears. Millions remember it as
So
Berenstain.
she went full Mandela effect. Okay. Number one, best conspiracy, and that's immediately where she went. So I cannot believe that people were telling me that, oh, you should have watched the full episode because you took the clips out of context. You dummies, this is 10 times worse than the clips I played.
An E, but every book says Berenstain with an A, and that's just the beginning.
If you're running a simulation and you go back and you change some variables and you rerun the simulation, lots of little things could be different along the way, right? There are many different possible paths.
Glitches in the Matrix.
Exactly. You're now on this timeline, but you remember. You have like a deja vu, or you have like a weird memory.
Movie quotes, logos, product names, all different than we remember. Entire groups of people swearing something changed with no explanation. It became known as the Mandela Effect, named after people who remembered Nelson Mandela dying in prison years before he actually did. What could cause something like this?
Are you familiar with the Mandela Effect? Yeah, of course. Millions of people remember certain events that never happened. And so how do you explain that? As we go through our conscious progression, as we raise consciousness, the way we perceive...
So this is where you guys are at. You guys are at defending full-on Mandela Effect gibberish nonsense. I'm gonna skip ahead to where she's playing Project Camel Toe, Carrie Cassidy's nonsense.
View potential future timelines.
The project was shut down because there was a problem when we approached 2012. The timelines converge on that point in time.
The technology of peering into the future, the CIA stolen Sumerian technology, quit working in 2012. And she's getting this from Disinfo Project Camelot. And you guys told me that I needed to watch the full show because it actually makes sense. No, you're idiots. You're dumb.
The project was shut down because there was a problem when we approached 2012. The timelines converge on that point in time. When
Does she really believe this? I mean, I just can't figure out, does she actually believe this, or is this just, I mean, it's so bizarre, dude.
knowing how string theory works and how the possibility of possibilities works and how...
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, we all know that, yeah, with string theory, I mean, clearly this is how it all goes down. I mean, it's self-evident with string theory.
Making one choice over here doesn't necessarily mean that the other choice couldn't exist at the same time. But once you get your brain wrapped around this subject, you find out that at the end of 2012, in an easy way to put it, the choices that we make become less and less consequential to the future.
Why? What is this total nonsense? Why 2012? The Mayan calendar? I mean, dude, this is so dumb.
And eventually we're pushed into this bottleneck of time, no matter which choice we make.
Okay, so is that certainly 2012 in your understanding?
It's well coincides with December 21st, 2012.
So at that point, all possibilities lead to the same
Timelines. All possible timelines lead to the same basic set of history in the future.
And after that, they shut it all down. Now ask yourself, why would a system like that be buried, and what exactly did they see? Because this is...
Okay, this is supposed to be some of these documents, which I've not been able to find. So let's see if we can see what they are.
And after that, they shut...
This is supposed to be the Washington Post. Okay, this is interesting because this article has nothing to do with what she's talking about, right? So she's playing this guy's video, Be Inspired, and it's an article from the Washington Post in 1981, which has nothing to do with a program about technology seeing into the future. It's about the Cold War, and it's using the phrase looking glass. It has nothing to do with the nonsense that she's spouting. But she knows that this audience of drunk wine moms and soccer moms is not actually going to go find the Washington Post article. But we will, and we will see, is there actually anything in this article, anything close to what she's talking about? Okay, here it is. Let's make this full screen. Okay, so notice absolutely nothing in this title of an article that has nothing to do with technology. It's only about the Cold War and a book written about the Cold War. But it happens to have the title Looking Glass Spies. Nothing to do with Project Looking Glass, which is not a project about future peering technology. So not only did she not vet this stupid video she's playing, they didn't even bother to look up, neither her nor the original video, what the actual article is about.
Still down. Now ask yourself, why would a system like that be...
Okay, now this is the next one, which this looks like the Gateway Project. Yep. So this is the Gateway Process image here, which we did a whole podcast on, which is a real project. but there's nothing that signifies or proves time travel or seeing the future in a paper, in a process paper about these different techniques. It's a study of these techniques. It does not prove or show or demonstrate that you can see in the future. It's a study of biofeedback. It's a study of transcendental meditation, remote viewing, all these different things. There's nothing in this about Project Looking Glass and Sumerian technology. That's pure bullcrap.
Buried, and what exactly did they see? Because this isn't just about false memories or tech. It might explain why everything since 1999 feels frozen and artificial, like we're on rails in a version of...
So notice that everything since the 90s feels frozen. It feels artificial. Well, that's because we're spending all of our time and our days on the internet. Okay, there was no metaphysical change in reality because of Y2K. And I mean, again, people deserve to be rebuked and castigated for cussing me out for not believing this absolute bullshit. You're just stupid. I'm sorry that you're dumb. It's not my fault. I'm sorry.
Reality that wasn't meant to last this long. And if you think that's wild, wait until you hear what else Looking Glass may have revealed. So what exactly did they see with Looking Glass? According to multiple whistleblowers, including Bill Wood and other...
Okay, whistleblowers from Project Camel Toe are absolutely not credible. They put out the most ridiculous, stupid stuff on a daily basis for 20 years. It's the dumbest of the... It's coast-to-coast stuff. It's the same people that go on coast to coast. So the whistleblowers are coast-to-coast people. And if you don't know, coast-to-coast is entertainment, you idiots.
Interviewed by Project Camelot, every time they ran the device, no matter what variables they changed, all future timelines converged to a single fixed point. That point, somewhere between 2012 and 2016.
She believes this. She believes a Project Camelot. Okay, let's show you some more interviews from Project Camelot so that you understand what I'm talking about here. So as you can see, it's a bunch of crackpots, loons, quacks. I mean, every now and then there's a couple. David Wilcock, the Gaia time consciousness zone theory guy. Look at that. There we go. So that's what we're at here.
After that, the future became unpredictable. No more branching outcomes, just a wall.
So it's super interesting that they couldn't see beyond 2012, or rather they could see beyond 2012, but maybe things became inevitable. That was backed up by the...
Yeah, but they didn't see anything, Candace. It's not true. Okay. So let's move on to the next thing. Here's where she goes full Gnostic.
In the room, while this device was being operated, their conscious thoughts impacted the device, okay? So just imagine this. What they were thinking in the moment was change.
So no vetting of the person in this interview, no questioning of, is this actually a credible person? Again, this is just like Tom DeLonge talking about UFOs and the generals recruited him to disseminate the disclosure information. This is Spielberg stuff. This is not reality.
Future outcomes. Thoughts influenced future outcomes. That piece is super relevant to what we're going to discuss. And obviously that's pretty reminiscent of one of the themes of The Matrix. I just am going to assume everybody's seen that movie. If not, you should watch it because it was way ahead of its time. And
there we go. So The Matrix was really telling you what was going on, and that's why they're tapping into and controlling the quantum consciousness. And she keeps going.
Moment, somewhere between 2012 and 2016. After that, everything became unclear, like the future couldn't be read anymore. This brings us back to 1999, a year that might have marked more than just the turn of a century. It's also when The Matrix was released. At the time, it was seen as just another sci-fi movie, but looking back, it feels like something more.
You've been living in a dream world, Neo.
The film introduced a powerful idea, that the world we experience might not be what it seems, that reality could be shaped or even simulated without us knowing. And once you start asking questions, things begin to change.
Now, if Candace was actually a Roman Catholic who took this view seriously, and maybe she is, but I mean, the first thing that you would know if you knew Catholic doctrine at its basics, we're going to set aside all the crazy papal stuff for a second, but let's just say that she's a sincere traditional Catholic. Any basically catechized Roman Catholic traditionalist would know that the Matrix is Gnostic. So, I mean, why does she not at least say, look, you know, the Matrix was an interesting, insightful film, but it's totally Gnostic.
That idea resonates deeply with what many have felt since the early 2000s. The time feels different, but the future doesn't feel open the way it once did.
Feel. Nothing about evidence, fact, objective argumentation. How does it feel? What are the vibes? What's my intuition?
It's like things are repeating themselves, the same cycles, the same events, showing up again and again. Some people even report seeing repeating numbers everywhere, like 1111, 222, 444, almost.
So now we're going full schizo with gematria nonsense. And just like Jim Bob said, like this is like one step away from gematria, schizo, scammer, online nonsense. And we've all seen the gematria going around Remember the Marty Leeds debates from years ago? Remember I don't even know the names of the other more recent goofballs it's just insane. There's nothing coherent. You can't actually demonstrate it because the numbers are all interpreted in the way that works to fit the system. And any counterfactual evidence of, well, wait a minute. I mean, I looked at the clock the other day and it said 11:13. No, it only matters when you look at the clock and it says 11:11. Right. Oh, whoa, dude. Synchronicity, bro. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't. There's no meaning behind looking at the clock and it happens to be 11:11. And then the next day you go, to play basketball and you look up at the shot clock and it says 11:11. Whoa, dude. 2 days in a row, I saw 11:11. And then I was watching Stranger Things and her name is 11, dude. It's like, that's schizo. There's no logical connection, no necessary connection between those things. It's a non sequitur.
Like little glitches or signals hidden in everyday life. And strangely enough, this idea of patterns repeating, of cycles you can't escape, lines up with what Looking Glass operators allegedly encountered. The sensation that the future was already written and that all paths lead to the same outcome. Fast forward to 2012,
So now it's weird predestination based on this guy's alleged viewing of a box of technology that can see into the future. It's literally from the most insane channel on YouTube and just some guy claiming this. That's it. It's just some on the most channel claiming it. And now millions of people have watched this and believe this stupid bullshit.
Whistleblowers claim that a confidential briefing took place where certain agencies acknowledged the shift, a kind of convergence in human potential. This document, released by the CIA, explores consciousness as something...
Yeah, that's the gateway process document. That is not Looking Glass, and it has nothing to do with time travel. It discusses, could we perhaps train the mind to see outside of the body and to see into the future? That doesn't mean that there's time travel. It doesn't mean there's a box that does it. It's just a document that says, let's study these things. The CIA has documents studying the occult. That doesn't mean that they've all secretly mastered it and they're all sorcerer Kabbalah wizards and they can control the future because they studied Kabbalah. It just means it's been studied.
That can move through time, even outside of the physical world. It discusses remote viewing, timelines, and the nature of reality itself. Now, connect that to the Matrix, and the overlap becomes hard.
Yeah, it says that we're going to study these things. It doesn't say they can do it. People who do drugs believe that they can see into other dimensions. They believe that they're seeing the past. They're seeing past lives. It doesn't mean you're actually seeing it. It means you're on a drug.
To ignore. Maybe it wasn't just a movie. Maybe it was the first time the system gave us a glimpse behind the curtain. And if that's the case, what else have we been shown without realizing it?
Okay, a lot to unpack there. First, I'm going to say, just regarding the movie The Matrix, you should look into how even the script for The Matrix was stolen, allegedly. But to bring this back to my earlier point about...
Yeah, again, another total bullshit conspiracy. The woman who claims that is absolutely insane. And when we were doing my TV show, the producer asked me and said, hey, what about doing a show on... the black woman who claims to have really written The Matrix. Well, guess what? I looked into that. And if you dig into that, it turns out that her case is so ludicrous that it was thrown out in court. Oh, well, that's because she was black. No, it's because it's crazy. She didn't actually write The Matrix. It's just stupid. It's nonsense. Look it up. Go read about how the court case was thrown out because it was ridiculous. They're just doing that because she was a black woman and they racist because she really wrote The Matrix. Guess what? There's a lot of crazy people out there. There's a lot of schizos, a lot of loons, unstable people. Just go get on Twitter for a little bit. Go read TikTok comments if you doubt me. And there's people that literally think that she probably really thinks that. And I remember looking into this years ago. And did she look into it? No, she just allegedly, they probably did steal The Matrix from her. I don't even remember her name, but it's a stupid conspiracy theory that's been floating around for 15 years on the internet. Sophia Stewart, that's it. This crazy black woman who claims that she created the Matrix story. And that, now I'm not saying the Wachowskis aren't crazy.
So when you go to court, and when I went to court, I was suing for money and damages. I didn't have to prove I was the owner of the Matrix and Terminator. All I had to do was put in 90.
Oh, it's also the Terminator. It's not, she didn't just write the Matrix. This queen over here also wrote a Terminator, okay? And she was suing for that money.
6 pieces of evidence to claim the money.
Yeah, very credible. Yes, this woman is automatically on the face of it. Just absolutely, totally credible. So then she goes from the Matrix and time portals to the Macron stuff again. And then it's AI and and then the technocrats are coming for us, which is true. So she's mixing in the true stuff here. And then next, CERN. So now it's CERN as part of it. So let's go through the whole litany of coast to coast topics. Now we're on CERN and the God particle and all this nonsense, blah, blah, blah. And of course, we got to go to the CERN ritual. Now, the problem with the CERN ritual, so she's rehashing all the pop conspiracies of 2015, 16, right? These were the popular conspiracies at the time. I was right in the midst of it, in the heat of it at the time. I remember when this was going around. And even at this time, I was very skeptical of this. And it is not real. It is a prank. They're not actually videotaping and recording, because the guy who's videotaping it is also wearing a cloak. And the person here, as you can see in front of the Shiva, now that there is a giant Shiva statue at CERN, that's true. And that's because Oppenheimer said, I am Shiva, destroyer of worlds, after he invented supposedly the atomic bomb technology, the hydrogen bomb technology. So they erected the Shiva in honor of all of that. That's why it's there. But you'll notice, this person is wearing Chuck Taylors, as Jim Bob pointed out. Yes, so you see there the ritual magic person, right? This is an elite Illuminati ceremony that's real, according to Candace. And they're there in their sockies, their high top socks, and their Chuck Taylors. And they're just walking around filming on a camera. The person you can see in the shadow from the reflection in the window is also wearing the same hood. And then a girl lays down in a white gown, and Candace says, no, it's real. It's not a prank, even though it immediately came out that CERN apologized that people took their prank seriously. And why was there a prank? They did this because at the time, so many people were coming up with CERN conspiracies, and it was all getting ridiculous. And they did the same thing with the Denver airport. The Denver airport then put out a thing playing upon the conspiracy stuff. And then all the conspiracy there's, oh yeah, see, it's real because they're covering it up. Now, there is weird stuff at the Denver airport. There are Masonic images there. There is underground facilities there. But that's not what most of the conspiracy world were saying. And that's usually what's going on, right? There is something going on, but it's not what these people say. And just like with the Denver airport, the CERN people played a prank. And it's obviously a prank. They're wearing their freaking tennis shoes, and the guy filming it is wearing the cloak too, as even other spooky YouTuber people can figure out.
Happened a while ago, yet I still find it pretty captivating, so I thought I would talk about it.
And then the next part was even more ridiculous, where Daily Wire made a joke video making fun of her about the Egyptian planes, and she thinks it's a coded message that they're going to assassinate her because the letters are red. You can't make this up.
Not just the destination, but the experience of getting there. When you travel with us, you'll feel warm, you'll feel welcome, and you'll feel watched, because every seat comes with the peace of mind of knowing someone is following you with 2 planes. This is what you can expect when you fly with At Egyptian Air, we definitely never mix up our time zones, flight numbers, or flight times. We know every journey is your personal business. After all, your personal business is our business, is our motto. Egyptian Air, wherever you travel,
we will follow.
And so they've colored the letters there on the text for watched, followed, we will follow.
See, that's schizo level stuff. The satire video was a coded message to her because it said watch and follow. She's being watched and followed. You can't make this up. This is what you idiots are defending. This is schizo level stuff.
Your personal business. After all, your personal business is our business, is our motto. Egyptian Air, wherever you travel,
we will follow.
That was a coded message to Candace, she's saying.
And so they've colored the letters there on the text for watched, followed, we will follow. I don't even know what to say to that. Like I told you, they're unhinged. It's been going on, by the way. It's like gang stalking. It's just been going on for 2 years consistently behind.
There we go. Now we're targeted individual gang stalking land. Full schizo, like we talked about yesterday. I said yesterday on the stream, or the day before, this is targeted individual stuff. She literally just said it. Now, if you're still on board with this, unfollow my channel. Go away. I don't want slow boys here. You're not welcome here. Bye-bye. Go. You're too dumb for here. I don't want dumb people around. And you bring my IQ down. being here. So please leave.